Today is Thursday, December 13th, 2018. The time is 6:30 p.m. The regular meeting of the Greensburg Redevelopment Commission is called to order. At this time, please silence all of your electronic devices. If everybody would stand, we'll begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table at the back of the room.
Canceled.
Roll call. Jody, would you conduct roll call, please?
Yes. David Michaels.
Present.
Adam Wenzel. Absent. Ken Dornick.
I don't have it down.
Darren Covington.
Here.
Shannon McClellan.
Water.
Here. Jody Kaufman. Here.
Is that right?
Thank you.
Is that at 6?
Approval of minutes of the October 18th, 2018 regular meeting. Hopefully we've had a chance to review the minutes. Are there any corrections? If there are not any corrections to the minutes, they stand approved as presented. Next item on our agenda is for Jason Semler from Umbaugh to give us a little update about a new state law. Jason, if you would step up, please.
Thanks, President, members of the Commission. Again, my name is Jason Semler. I'm partner with H.J. Umbaugh Associates, and I've been in front of this board off and on over the years, kind of giving you updates on the on your TIF area and looking at the revenues and your obligations. And there was a new requirement that was passed this year at the General Assembly this spring, and it requires all redevelopment commissions to meet and provide an annual meeting where they invite all the overlapping taxing districts, so the county, the city, the school, townships, libraries, to a meeting, and then provide some information to the public and to the overlapping taxing units. And those three pieces of information that's required is the annual budget, what the TIF is used for, the long-term plan of the Redevelopment Commission, and then an impact analysis of how the TIF area capturing those assessed, how that impacts the overlapping taxing districts. That became effective July 1 of 2018. And again, as I said, that's on an annual basis. And we were trying to get some clarification from the state, the Department of Local Government Finance, State Board of Accounts, because those are kind of broad, especially the impact analysis, because that could mean a lot of different things, depending on how you interpret it. And we're also wanting to know, it says annually, effective July 1, does that mean you have to do it by by December 31, 2018, or just by June 30, 2019, within that year? Couldn't get anyone to opine on either one of those, because basically what I told you is basically what it says in legislation. It doesn't give anyone any jurisdiction from the state to oversee that. So there's no penalties for not doing it. So since no one had any jurisdiction, no one really wanted to give their opinion. But we've been talking the last couple months that is something that you should do. We've had some clients do it this year. We've had a lot of clients wait until 2019 when they get 2018 done. So I just wanted to bring these new requirements to you and recommend that we probably do this by June 30th of next year. And like I said, we do an annual report, or at least semi-annually, or biannual report for you guys. So you've already kind of done some of this. You've had me come present the report and to the public. We haven't officially invited all the overlapping taxing districts. We haven't provided all those things that we're now requiring, but we have provided some of that. So it's kind of just taking what you've already done and maybe just adding a few pieces of additional information to that meeting. So I'd probably recommend when you'd have us come out early next spring, we can talk about, what you want to show. Again, there's really no right or wrong reason. You can show as much or as little information as you feel is appropriate. But we show as far as, I think it's important to show what you've done, what you've used the TIF in the past. You've got the bonds outstanding, but kind of just to have a slide or two of all the projects you've done. I know you've done other kind of paid projects to help kind of fund some other organizations. And then talk about future projects that you want to do, and then put together a budget. I don't know if you already do that or not. A lot of redevelopment commissions don't, but you may have. We just need to kind of formalize that, present that. And then as far as the impact analysis, that's something we can talk about at a later date as far as, again, how much you want it to show. But again, there's no guidance, no guidelines. It's really what you think is appropriate and beneficial to the constituents there.
As far as the long-term plan, we have a project list which we approved 2.5 years ago. Does that
Yeah.
pretty well meet the terms of?
Yeah. What I typically do, and we've done these reports for you in the past, I kind of put this in a PowerPoint slide, 4 or 5 slides, and you'd have one slide of here's all the future projects that we would like to do. Not saying that we're definitely going to do them, but these are all projects that if we have the wherewithal, this is kind of what we want to use it for. And I think you can make that requirement. And then as far as the impact, like I said, we can show, once the TIF area is done, if that SS value gets passed through, what the impact would be. We've shown some communities where, if we didn't issue bonds to pay for Veterans Way, we had to issue property tax bonds instead. What that would do to taxpayers' tax bills, because that's saving them from an increase in property taxes. That's an impact analysis we could do. I mean, there's many things we can do.
Like the net assessed value of the properties out there, that it has increased. And so that would be, because we've got 2 of the elements actually in place. I mean, kind of the budget and the plan, so it would just be that impact statement.
And then just inviting the overlapping taxing districts and presenting it into a meeting.
Presenting it in an official form.
You've met your requirement.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Jason. We'll get back with
Okay,
you.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Merry Christmas.
Got it?
Item 2 on our agenda is Greensburg Community Schools funding. If you remember, when we redid our project list in 2016, we approved $150,000 a year for 3 years, and Mr. Hunter dropped off a way that they would spend way more than $150,000. The Dell laptop lease contract is $200,255, and there's about 10 more different contracts, different software contracts that are $20,000, $14,000, $34,000, so they won't have any trouble spending that. So I think it's well justified. We've paid for 2017, we did for 2018. So if we probably just get an approve something at our January meeting for paying this, we can take care of that next month for them. Any questions about that item?
Did they need it approved today? I guess I was confused by the whole Mr. Hunter couldn't be here. Did you know?
We could probably make a motion to pay it in January. We could probably,
That it was approved.
Approve it
and
right
that
now,
we have
but-
an invoice in January.
I mean, go ahead. I move that we invoice them for, or approve their last funding amount.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Darren. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
I'm sure the school thanks you.
Update of project status for Veterans Way Phase 2. Mr. May, do you have a report for us?
I do, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Veterans Way Phase 2, our design is completed and has been submitted to NDOT. All of the associated documentation has been submitted to NDOT for the project, with the exception of the right-of-way certification letter. And obviously, the reason that has not been submitted, we still have 3 parcels that have not been concluded. And until that process concludes, we cannot certify the right-of-way, and the right-of-way certification is a critical step to get to letting. We are currently on a March of 19 letting, March of 19 currently, right? But in reality, it appears that's going to slip back to April at the earliest, and that is all dependent upon the right-of-way. The right-of-way certification date for the March letting is February
Oh, wait a minute.
for March.
For March is December,
December, so we need to have the right-of-way certified this month to stay on March.
and we can't do that.
It's just not gonna happen.
So I,
And then roughly a month later, 20th, 18th, something like that, in January,
21st for April,
For the
February
April
the
letting.
18th.
Probably they need it, what, 90 days prior to?
yeah.
More or less.
And then functionally, May is the last letting opportunity for the current fiscal year. And our funding is budgeted at the state level, is budgeted for the current fiscal year. So anything we can do to get the right-of-way resolved, absolutely no later than February.
February to make May.
To make May. The
That's
earlier
about
it can
60
happen.
days.
So we've got the 3 parcels, and there has been some negotiation. 2 of them are owned by the same people. There's been a little negotiation going there. I don't know what you want to do with that this evening, if anything.
But do we want to consider the abatement application that the Semlers put forward?
We certainly can.
What are your thoughts? Any recommendation?
Well, I didn't hear the exact proposal that was submitted as far as abatement, but
So there is one.
there's not one that they counter offered anything.
Not that I understand for abatement wise.
Chris, do you want to handle this?
Yeah, I think Brian's back there too. I think for the TIF board, it's just a recommendation to the
To
council, because the parcel is put within the TIF district.
Yeah, technically, it has to, I was told by the state that it has to be approved by the district. Sorry. Any abatement submittal that is in a TIF, falls in TIF district needs to be
Has to
approved
be.
by the TIF district. Then goes back to the city council for approval. And I know the city council previously verbally talked about establishing, but you guys have the same.
Was there a direction for that, like which way, like council could do it first and then we would say yes or no?
It's I got a smile from Steve McKinney and said, he says that I am not a lawyer, is the first and well funded at all. But he said that
It's Ron's favorite.
probably it would be, the city council would be the secondary, would be the last. It's kind of a new situation.
And do we need to make it a target area?
Economic development, the city council establishes it as an economic development target area to allow for the abatement to occur for residents.
So the TIF board doesn't have a vote on that, just the
No,
council.
Just have to make a recommendation.
Well, my thought would be to approve it for no more than 3 years.
I can agree with that.
I'm sorry, Jody.
I would agree with that.
Okay. So is that a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
Okay. And then do you second the motion, Jody?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Anything else on Veterans Way Phase 2?
So you have no inclination to deal any further with property acquisition tonight. It's not on a critical path because of
Okay.
the remaining one. No, we just simply need to clean the right of way up
Get going.
and we'll be ready to
Okay.
move forward, so.
Well, don't run away.
Okay.
Would you do a Lincoln Street update while you're standing there?
Lincoln Street is making progress. We've had really a good week for the first time in a while simply because we've had better weather. The weather through November was kind of a challenge. The storm sewers are 100% installed. The under drains are 100% installed. The curb and gutter is 100% installed. The concrete for driveway approaches is approximately 70% complete. The curb ramps are approximately 30% complete. The sidewalk is about 50% complete. The paving operations is the good news and the bad news. The good news is that we have restored the pavement in the intersection at Washington Street, at North Street, at Central Street, and at Hendrick Street. We still have to complete the restoration work in the Walnut Street intersection. That is planned to happen Monday, Tuesday next week, again, weather dependent. The forecast is very favorable, but we've been lied to a few times. The wedge at the Circle K area has been completed, and we encountered an unanticipated condition, which was that after we milled the pavement, we had a very thin layer of asphalt left over the old concrete street. That layer of asphalt was not well bonded to the concrete, and we made the decision to remove that. So we pulled a wedge all the way from Main Street to Hendrick Street. And if you happen to get over there, other than the curb or the gutter being about 1.5 inches higher than the pavement, it really is starting to look more finished. The plan is to continue with the concrete work until it is completed, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. That being the 2 remaining driveway approaches and the curb ramps and the sidewalk. We are scheduled to continue paving operations Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday of next week. The battle is the asphalt plants are shutting down due to the winter and the extreme cost of keeping energy in the plants and limited production from them. It does not appear at this point that we will get the surface, the final surface on the street before next spring. We can complete everything except the final surface, the pavement markings, the final grading of the earth and the seeding of grass. Hopefully everything else can be completed. We're waiting on delivery of the new streetlight poles. They're supposedly shipping any day now. Maybe like the checks in the mail, I'm not sure. When those show up, we can get the streetlights installed. Hopefully next week we will install the handrail along the creek there at Washington Street and clean that up. There are several things that hopefully will come together very, very quickly now. We have looked at the budget and projected some costs. The real short answer, well, first off, we've added a few things to the project. We added sidewalk in the block between Walnut Street and the hospital. We've added modernizing the school speed zone, flashing beacon assemblies. We encountered the box culvert from Central that wasn't anticipated, and we've dealt with that. So we started out with a contract around $1.1 million. Our estimate for completion is around 1.35 million to complete it. And to refresh your memory, the original engineer's estimate was, I think, a little over 1.4 million. So while we're over the contract amount, we've added things. We are still under budget, if you will, in terms of where we thought we would end up from the very beginning. The biggest cost variation has come with the pavement. I just mentioned about we needed to remove a little more than we thought, so we had to put that back. In removing the old asphalt, we discovered some old concrete pavement that we intended to work on top of. It turned out to be not in as good a shape as we wanted, so we had a few areas of that to remediate. And then we had a lot more excavation in the intersections than was initially anticipated. And so there was a cost associated with that.
So will the street be drivable for some of the winter months? Are the intersections open for any of the winter months?
There's been some casual conversations about what we're gonna do, and to be very candid, I've been for the last couple of weeks trying to think about 2 days ahead because of the weather and the variables and all of that, and we have not had a discussion of what we're gonna do, and I think we have bi-weekly progress meetings. We'll have one tomorrow morning, and we'll sit down with our contractor and talk about that very topic. It is possible, I think probable, to open some or all of the side streets across Lincoln. We probably could open Lincoln. It would be somewhat rough but traversable. The real issue there is our pavement is about 1.5 inches below the elevation of the gutter, the new gutters, because that's the space left to put the surface on. And it creates the drainage situation because the water can't get into the gutter to get into the inlets to get out the storm sewers. So we need to discuss the right answer and figure out the right plan to get from here to spring. Plants will likely, paving, bituminous plants will likely open up March. So I don't want to say it's only 2 months,
Right.
but you know, 2.5 months, there's a chance we could be paving. Again, it's weather dependent, depends on what kind of spring we have. If we have an early spring and it's warm, they'll go and
But all the miscellaneous things aside from the paving and the final grading and seeding, that can be done
we're
prior
planning
to
to
the.
continue to do that.
prior
You can
to-
pour concrete in colder weather than you put
can
asphalt
that
down.
Mix in.
We'll continue to work with that. To give you a sense of the sidewalks, in the last 2 days, they placed a half a block of sidewalk on both sides. We got 2.5 blocks to go. So
It'd just be nice to have everything done, that when the plant opens and they can pave it,
Yes.
then we can
absolutely.
bring the barriers up and not have anybody else out there, have it.
And we're working to get everything done that we can possibly
To
get
get
done.
done.
That's my goal.
and to- Yeah. Well, that would be, it is what it is, as the saying goes, so it should be good to have everything as much done as possible. It's been fun standing out there in the cold watching that, hasn't it?
Thank you, sir. Is there much to report on the railroad bridge
Yes.
feasibility then?
NDOT, when we applied for the local tracks program, NDOT had told us that we would have an answer in the middle of November. Middle of November came, they sent us a notice and said they have a little more to do and it'd take a little bit. And literally today, NDOT published the results of the selections that they made. They awarded $121 million, and we weren't one of them.
Well, that leaves them $4 million to give us.
I'm sorry?
That leaves them $4 million to give us. Weren't they gonna give out 125?
That was the number that was thrown around, but must have been some slippage somewhere. And you have copies of the list of who got funded. The interesting thing, if you look at the list, well, there were 2 projects in Elkhart County that was $36 million total for the 2 of them out of $121 million.
Good chunk.
The vast majority of the money went to far northern Indiana, which doesn't surprise me because that's where the heavy rail corridors are, and that's where large volumes of vehicular traffic. So you have a bad combination of a lot of trains and a lot of traffic crossing at grade crossings. In fact, there were only 3 projects, one in Terre Haute, one at Evansville, and one in Wells County. There were only those 3 that weren't the northern tier of counties, either,
Well, Wells County's Fort Wayne.
sorry,
Wells County's near Fort Wayne.
a little bit south, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of east or southeast of Huntington County, I think. Most of the money, though, went to the very northern tier of counties in the state. The interesting thing, we were, I forget what our final estimate was, $8 million, I think. There were 5 of the awarded projects that were from $7 to $10 million. So there were some awarded in the dollar range that we were looking at. So we were competitive in that line. I'm sure the fact that we have a low number of train movements did not help us. However, I believe that if Honda adds more lines of cars, there's going to be more shipment of cars by rail, and the number of train movements, I think, has to increase. I can't see any other alternative. And so as we go forward, we may have opportunities somewhere. The good thing that I got out of this was we now have ideas about where we could do something like this. We have a couple of options that we still could pursue, and there will be other funding opportunities come along, and we simply need to vigilantly watch to see where we could get some help to do something like this.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is approval of claims. Let's see, we have some Phase 2 project claims. One from American Structure Point of $1,100. Another one from American Structure Point of $2,571.50. Another one from American Structure Point of $2,420.50. And then for Village Community Partners, $9,019.75. Better Way Moving and Storage, $150. Those are all for those are all for Phase 2 of Veterans Way. I didn't add those up, but looks like those add up to $20,261.75. So we have those claims, and then we have the claims to be paid out of the 257 for Lincoln Street. Last month's was $156,334.71, which we were all notified by email since we didn't have a meeting last month. And then this month for Globe Asphalt is $207,886.84. And those two are to be paid out of the 257 fund for Lincoln Street. And then we have one other bill from Strand Associates regarding their design for the railroad project of $5,000. So we need to make motion to pay, well, I'll entertain a motion to pay our bills.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Darren. Any other discussion? Those in favor?